Hello to all. I'm Barry Malphurs, the chairman of the Policy Committee for Department of Disability Special Needs. We are calling our meeting to order at 4:04. And the first thing I would ask that we do on the agenda is to read the statement of announcement. Ms. Laurie, please.
A meeting notice announcing the date, time, and place of the August 9th, 2022 Policy Committee meeting was distributed August 5th, 2022 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office and on the website. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistants, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is the invocation, which I'll give. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here to do just a small amount of the work that you would have us to do for those with disabilities. Thank you for the opportunity to serve those with disabilities. And we would ask that you would comfort each one that has a disability and make them understand that they are worthy and they have value beyond what they even realize, and that they are the way they are for a reason, and that you have them that way for a reason and for a purpose, and you would encourage them to reach their potential in whatever way that is. And we ask you to keep us safe throughout the day and on the way home tonight and tomorrow. And we ask this in your holy and precious name. Amen. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda, but
so moved. You need a motion?
No, I should say that it'll be adopted unless I hear otherwise. Due to the fact that we operate under unanimous consent. So if I don't hear anything in 2 seconds, it's adopted. Okay, the agenda is adopted. The next thing I want to tell y'all is that, or to say, is that you may note that there's very little on this agenda this month. That's because there were some comments received on the Directive 70009DD, determining the needs for residential services, and 70003DD, which is choice in living preferences, and that the staff needs some more time to clarify some things regarding those and review some things regarding those policies before we move forward on those. And there wasn't time, by the time we realized we didn't have time to do, I mean, we weren't going to be able to do those two today. There wasn't time to add anything else to the agenda. So it's a very short and concise agenda, but there is one, there's always, everything's important, but there is one rather important item on here that we wanted to get through today and get, so we can move on to other items. So we will discuss that along with what we plan to evaluate, what the committee plans to evaluate in the future over the next year over this year for the policy committee, over this fiscal year, I should say, since everybody knows that our fiscal year for everything, including the policies, go from June to June. So, so that's that. And the next item on the agenda is approval of the summary notes from the minutes, which is on tab 1, page 1 through 3. David, and I don't have any changes to those summary minutes. So unless you do, I'm gonna, if we don't hear anything in 2 seconds, I'm gonna move on, and we're gonna assume those minutes are adopted.
Good.
Okay, we're moving on. The first and the major item on the agenda for today is under old business, which is tab 2, is the maintenance management contract requirements for community residential homes. And the directive was out for external review, and there was one comment that we took, and we did incorporate that in some form. We actually incorporated it under something called site work, which may or may not have been needed to be clarified, but we're always happy to clarify things. I think due to the proviso, the commission had always intended to pay for the site work, but everything is always better to be clarified. And speaking of the word clarified, it's also interesting to note that this committee has done a lot of work to clarify a lot of policies over the last 2.5 years, and that was one of the things we needed to do so desperately. And I'm thankful we've been able to do the work we have in that regard. But a lot of what we do is to clarify things, and so I'm glad we could clarify that.
Clarify for me which tab we're on.
We're on tab 3. We're on tab 2, old business under maintenance contract. It's the only thing we added from last month, David, was the site work, which is defined in there now, and it says that DDSN will pay that, which basically is sidewalks and parking lots and things of that nature, unless, the key word is unless, it is malicious, something is done by one of the providers, and then they have to pay for it if they mess it up or destroy it in some way. But generally speaking, if it's maintenance related, we will take care of it, is what it basically is saying. And that was clarified
was that under page 5, under definition somewhere?
It's on page, probably, it is defined under definitions, and it's also, it also says that it also puts site work under DDSN responsibilities, which is on page 4. The definition, well, actually the definition on page 5, you're right. And it's under, it was added from the last time you saw it under site work.
Okay, all right.
That was added. Because because obviously we didn't, I guess we didn't, and we probably didn't clarify that well enough. But anyway, we always intended to pay for it anyway, after the proviso situation. So that's where we are. You'll see that obviously the providers pay for what's called custodial maintenance, which we've been through and discussed and all that. Which will help us some, at least, to not be bothered so much with little things, which we never should have been bothered to begin with, but that's another story. So unless we have a,
well, this property, the property is considered DDSN property, right?
that's right. They
But
technically own.
the providers are occupying it. So when we have to do maintenance, all this is saying, and staff, feel free to correct my misunderstandings, is what we're responsible for.
That's right.
Are we responsible for custodial maintenance?
No, that's the only thing we're not responsible for is custodial maintenance. In this is obviously only the houses that were actually put in the DDSN system before 1990, and it's the ones that were grandfathered in basically. All the ones we have now and all the ones we've had since the early 1990s, the providers pay for all the maintenance on all of those, which is a whole nother story. I don't know if you remember, but a couple of years ago, the commission reversed this policy, and then we had to where the providers paid for maintenance, which they shouldn't be paying for anyway, because it's all in the money they get paid. Everything's all in the money they get paid, just like any other just like any other property, but in this case, it was different because of the proviso. So this is what came out of the proviso situation, and it defines what we pay for and what we don't. But more importantly, just as importantly, equally importantly, it defines much better what things like custodial maintenance and fixed equipment and interior components, what that means, which is much better than the policy we had in the past. It's substantially better than the policy we reversed 2 years ago. But then a lot of things are around here. So that's where we are. But that was the only difference from the last time you saw this last month. If you remember, we talked about it last month and what these different things meant and all that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, if there's no other objection, then we're going to approve this policy as it is, as it has been written now, I should say, and we will move on to the next one. So that hearing no other objection, that it is approved and we are moving forward. The next item on the agenda is the list of directives and standards to be considered by the committee for the rest of the fiscal year, and these will be placed on the website, and we will be these are the policies we will make every attempt to evaluate over the next.
Are you on tab 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're on basically the last tab you have, which is tab 3, which is the list, which is that list you see.
Yeah.
Those are the policies. Those are the 40 some odd policies we're trying to do throughout this year. We're making an attempt to do anyway, based on what happens with fee for service and what we have to fix for that and all that. Obviously, we're behind from what we had planned to do because we had to fix a lot of fee for service policies, which were more important to make them proper since we moved to fee for service. And I will, sir, I will work diligently with. Sorry, go ahead, David.
I'm rereading the list. So.
Oh, you're reading the list. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'm just.
No, go ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead. We got plenty of time, man. We this is the last thing on the list, so we're fine. We're fine. This is really, except for Lori has a couple things to tell us, but that's it. I mean, we have a very short agenda today, so if you want to take a minute to read it, it's fine.
So there's no red line on page 1 of tab 3, page 17 in my book. Does this mean we're adopting all these things? These things are already in place and don't need changes?
No, it means that we are going to be. These are what every year we make a list of what we're planning to go over the next year in the policy committee.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's 2023. Okay.
Yeah, 2023. This is what we're trying to do in 2023. This would be what we're ideally trying to accomplish in 2023 is all these. And sorry about the noise behind me. That's the sound of freedom. It's a plane, military plane, but we have a lot of those around here. But anyway, this is what we're trying to accomplish in 2023, and obviously we have to prioritize these and decide which ones we're going to do first, second, and third. But I'll get with Lori on that and decide what we're going to, how many we're going to tackle in a month, and based upon how much time we think we need with them, and how many we're going to try to do, and which ones we're going to try to do. I have a few marked that I want to talk about whenever we can, or hopefully next month or the next, depending on what we have to do. We obviously have a lot to do next month with Well, we will add hopefully a couple of these. We will have quite a bit to do, I think, with the ones that were deferred, as I was talking about earlier, from last month. So that'll have a large, those two will have a large portion of next month's meeting because they'll be put back on the meeting next month.
Barry, and staff, the waiting list issue, I still feel a little confused about. That is the status of the waiting list. I think that's a plural. There's more than one waiting list, right? Am I correct about that?
Well, go ahead. Go ahead,
Yes.
Lori. Yeah.
That'll be part of next month's agenda. That directive was part of the wrap up of the residential need policy and the informed choice policy. So that'll be dealt with at that time.
I think, Barry, you and I were going to get with Lori at some time. I don't know if you did, and something blocked me. This past year has been a little bit, because of some of my personal issues, a little bit of a blur. But I thought we were going to get with her and get her to, well, at least brief me. You probably understand it better than me. Just the waiting list and where we are with waiting lists in previous directives that had gone out 2 years ago. Something like 2 years ago, there was a 6-month drop-off period, and I don't know if I'm still talking about, we just made something obsolete a little while ago on a waiting list. So I just need some of the fog cleared, and if Lori, do you mind getting in touch with me? Barry, do you want to participate in that, or are you?
Sure, I can. Yeah, sure, I will. Yeah.
We can schedule some time for that.
Sure, I'll be on it with you so I can make sure we're both on the same page. There is some things we need to talk about regarding that matter, and from my perspective,
just maybe help me with a sheet of bullet points about waiting lists in South Carolina at DDSN, how this relates to other states and how they do it. Who does it relate to? How does the phenomenon work? Number of different waiting lists. Because as I understood it originally, when I started asking questions about it, was more than one. There were multiple lists. And so I was confused about that and should have gotten it clarified. But I'll tell you what, COVID and all the stuff that was going on with COVID just kind of disengaged. And then I had some personal physical issues that I had to work through. Well, anyway, okay. If Lori, you want to take the initiative on that and get in touch with me and set up a kind of a little conference call with Barry and me, and
sure.
If we have Barry, if we've got more than two, what's the rule? I've forgotten what it is now. To notifying the public and
well, we have to. We technically. Actually, David, if we're both on the same call, we'd have to notify the public that we're on the call. So technically, it would probably need to be individual calls.
Even if there are two or more, is that the rule?
Well, because there's three of us. There's only three of us on this committee, so that's a majority. And so they could argue that we should have the public present. So I would think that what we need to do is set up a time where she would call you first and then call me right after and go over it and make sure everything is what we think is the correct thing to do. In that regard. But I'll also mention to you a couple things about it before she calls you, and we'll go from there. Because I have quite a few notes on the waiting list.
And added to that, Lori, would be how the notifications, if somebody is cut off of a waiting list, let's say he or she was Medicaid approved, so we cross that hurdle, and then 6 months go by, but we don't have a provider even under the new system for taking care of that person, how that person's status then is understood by DDSN and necessary communications if we're eliminating them from the waiting list because there is not somebody, they shouldn't be sitting around for 2 years not quite knowing that what their status is. Anyway, I just need the fog to clear. I'm sure staff's got it all under control. But I recall from a couple of years ago when I brought it up, I think I sort of understood it, but then the more I thought about it and heard things, the more I determined that maybe I don't understand it. So anyway, help me out, and I would really appreciate that clarification for on my part. Thank you. And Barry, I don't have any questions about the upcoming year. On page 1 of tab 3, and page that page
Actually,
1 noticed as page 17 and
yeah, 17
18.
and 18 on your list.
Yeah.
And 19 actually, but anyway, I hope we can get to all those, but I don't know.
Oh, I didn't flip the page. Okay, yeah, all right, 19.
Yeah, 17, 18, and 19. So it's a lot. But it's the number we try to do. It's 45. It's not insurmountable. It's just been difficult lately, but we'll do our best. But we will. But I'll get with you a little more on the waiting list and on some clarifications on that matter.
Well, I'm not looking forward to it.
At some point, the rest of the commission is going to probably need to be informed on some of that stuff too.
The do not resuscitate number 38 is of particular interest to me, and I think it's one more scary concept. So I'm looking forward to making sure that's clarified for sure.
I'll mark that one on my stuff to make sure that we bring that up as soon as we can. I've got a couple of other ones marked, but I'll mark 38 and make sure that we go through that one
carefully. All right. Thank you.
Of course. Got it. I got it, Mark. We'll take care of it, sir. I don't know which month, but it'll be a couple months probably, but we'll take care of it. And it'll be soon. It'll be before the end of the year. I'll guarantee you that. Because the ones I have marked, I fully intend to do in the next few months. So anyway, or to try to do based on what the staff tells me we can do or should do or whatever. So that's where we are with that. And the next, I guess technically we can approve this list, but so we can put it on the website and say this is what we're doing. So if I don't hear an objection, we're going to use this as our list for 2023.
Good.
And since I didn't hear one, we are moving on. That will be our list for 2023, and we'll do our best. But of course, everybody knows that we're very fluid around here, and that we do what we need to. If we need to go back to another policy, we will, or whatever we need to do to keep things flowing smoothly, particularly in our wonderful new world of fee for service. While it's not a perfect world, it's much closer to perfect than we ever had before. So, so the last item on the agenda is for Lori to present to us regarding management of funds for individuals participating in residential programs.
All right, so 212 DD was posted for external review. We did receive several comments. We made a few changes to the directive to clarify some stuff based on the comments. And a copy of the draft version and final version will be presented to the full commission for approval and signing at the commission meeting this month.
Good.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind whenever you see the packet coming up. It'll be coming to you very soon, David. Just keep that in mind that we'll be dealing with that at the actual meeting itself, commission meeting.
All right, good. Lori, you'll be popping up at the full meeting talking about it, right?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, hopefully everybody at DDSN is done with vacations now. I don't know. But one of the benefits of the state is you get a lot of time off, so that's something you have to deal with. And for those that are listening that want to work for the state, that's a very good benefit, by the way. And so with that being said, we are very close to finish already. The next meeting is, again, that's because we had to knock a couple of things off of this agenda, as I said at the beginning. And we didn't have time to add anything. So the next meeting is tentatively set for September 6th. We are going to do our best to meet that situation, although the time may change to 3:30 or instead of 3 or a little bit or somewhere around there. I don't know yet, but we're going to try to do it at 3 o'clock like we normally do, and try to do it September 6th, which will be sooner than we normally do. But we cannot do the second Tuesday in September, so staff has a conflict with that, so we will have it September 6th. We think as of now.
Got it.
So with that, I guess I need a motion to adjourn, David.
Well, I don't think you do, but if you want one, okay, I move we adjourn.
Okay, I told you I would look at that last month, and I didn't do it, but I will again, and we'll playfully let you know about that at the next meeting.
Technically, I think on the adjournment issue, I think if you've adopted the agenda, the way we do unanimous consent and without objection, once you reach the end, then the chair simply says, we've now reached the end of the agenda. I therefore declare the meeting adjourned. I think that's all you have to do, really.
Well, it could be. You could be right. I don't know why I read differently, but you could. If I read differently, I don't know. But I'll figure it out before the next meeting. I'm sorry, I meant to look at that last night when I was looking at this one more time, and I forgot to. But I will, and I will do it the correct way next time around. And I will.
I don't know if it's correct or not. It's just a fast way. All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.